Hello, it's Andy Graham of the Ask Andy show. I've been to 90 countries and I've lived abroad for 16 plus years, and I have opinions about everything. Okay. Anything and everything global. Okay, Robert D. asked a question, and I've been not trying to avoid it. I've been procrastinating it because I really didn't understand what he was talking about. And he says, what are the alternatives to keeping funds in overseas bank accounts? So, what's an alternative to keeping money in overseas bank accounts when we'll have difficulties in even opening such an account because of FATCA? It's an acronym, FATCA, F-A-T-C-A, effective July 1st. I'm not really getting clear here. I looked it up in Wikipedia, and it's not really clear. It acts like it was already there in 2010, but doesn't really matter. What he's saying is, and what I understand this to be, is a law that says that they're making a world agreement between all the banks worldwide that if an American has money in a foreign bank, they basically have to share the information with America in the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. As far as I know, I mean, this is just, in a way, it sounds as normal a news report that is overzealous. What I'm saying is, what you see is like huge problems and reality are way two separate things. I mean, the things they scare Americans about inside the country and what they do overseas. I have never opened an account abroad. I guess well, that's not true. I opened one in Mexico one time, and then I opened one in I know I could have done one in Lago Atlan by asking a local. A local has to go in and basically agree to help you. And Don Carlos at what's the name of his hotel? But Don Carlos would have helped me. One of the hotel owners, and there's many people. I mean, Lago Atlan is real small, but I could have really opened up one in Dominican Republic real easy. Now, but what you do find out when you get there is that you'll get there, there'll be like 6 banks in the city, right? And not all of the banks will just let you open up an account. Some, it's like a Mickey Mouse, it's like some of them are really absolutely corrupt, and they're trying to get you to do minimum balances and things like that. And other ones are just transparent and really try to help you to open a bank account. And generally when you do this, what you have to do is really talk to a lot of foreigners that are living in the city and ask them how to do it. I would think doing it online would be the most, or finding out how to do this by getting on these forums would probably be the most negligent thing you could do, mainly because there's people working these forums that are trying to get you to put your money in certain places that are not good. So there's a bunch of really shady characters on forums. I really recommend you first go to the place and hopefully you have the self-esteem that you can sit there and ask a bunch of people where they put their money, and then for the reasons, and just weigh it back and forth. And generally, in every place I've ever been, there's always been one bank that's just been the obvious bank where everybody goes and does this, right? Now, I personally, I'm not sure, I really don't understand why everybody gets this idea that they got to get a lifelong visa to the country and they got to get a bank account. Are you really immigrating to that country? I mean, really, I think only one in maybe of the people that apply for a long-term visa, okay, or actually do all the residency stuff and get it. Of all the people that do this, only one in actually, let's see, 5,000 people actually lives there the rest of their life. The rest, basically, the first time they get really sick or something, they move back home. Because they need to get on Medicare, Medicaid, and all these things. So to actually totally get residency, to me, I just don't understand. I haven't ever heard of a, well, that's not true. My friend Steve, he became a resident of Singapore, and they loaned him $50,000, and I think he took off. Okay, but that's the only other reason I've ever heard it was any sort of sense. I mean, the guys go to Israel and they get like my friend, what's his name, Aaron or something. You immigrate to, if you're Jewish and you immigrate to Israel, they'll give you like a 6 months worth of money. So he was really running out of money, so he immigrated to Israel. I think he's still there. So I guess that was the right thing to do. But they have scholarships for these guys where you go to Israel and there's all these New Yorkers in there sitting in the hostel. They say, hey, yeah, they paid for my plane trip. It's really kind of funny. But residency, those are the only 2 times I've ever heard of any residency really making sense, unless you're, you're starting you're investing $100,000 in a business over there. Yeah, you're going to have to jump through the hoops, and you're going to have to figure out how to join their tax rolls. But if you're just a Mickey Mouse guy sitting around there, you don't need this, okay? And it really just keeps it. The way I do it is I have 2 bank accounts. I have my mother's credit union, Dana Credit Union, and I have the PNC Bank. The PNC Bank's really good because, for one thing, they'll let me access in Africa and not block me out. I get on PayPal and I'm instantly locked out. Zoom is horrible. Okay, I mean, I finally got them to open up after a year. They locked me out for a year and a half, and I kept saying, I'm in America and you want me compliance. But PNC seems to let me do it, and I can actually get on there, write a bank, I can put in a name, John something, send a check to them, and pay bills straight from my thing. But I got 2 ATM cards, and I recommend you have like a Cirrus and a Plus. There's a little thing on the back that says Plus or Cirrus. You need to have 2 different ones. It's really becoming easier and easier and easier. MasterCard is not really, or Visa is really not the system that runs the ATM things. It's Cirrus and Plus. There's 2 or 3 others, but Cirrus and Plus are your big ones. And so if I had trouble with one ATM card, I would use the other one. And I make it so that my mother or father could have put money in these accounts. My sister could go into the bank, and I have a friend in the bank, Debbie, that we're actually going to go see today. That if I called her up and said, Debbie, do this, she's a real good friend, and I've had this relationship for 30 years. And if you're really piling a bunch of money overseas, you probably already have these kind of relationships because you had to have them in America, right? But you really don't need to open an account overseas. It just doesn't do you much value other than making sure that you stay in that one city and never move. And until you're there for at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, unless you start a business, right? I don't know why you would ever open a bank account. I think everybody dreams that there's some kind of big money laundering person, but they're not. I mean, if you want to hide, $100,000 or $200,000, I know how, you can do this, but that isn't really what most people are somehow listening to the people that have $1 million complain on how to do this. Unless you got $1 million, this is not your problem. Don't commit to a location. Don't open your bank accounts all over the place. It's just impossible to close them, control them. If you have an ATM machine, okay, say you have an account in Dominican Republic, and they give you an international ATM machine card, okay. If they do that, not all banks will do that. So you get a thing, you want to be able to take money out of that account. So what you want to be able to do is strip it, right, of all the money in the account. So the way to do that is to have an international ATM card, and if you wanted to really just close it, just take all the money out of it, right, and just leave it, forget it. But you have to first make sure the card is actually international and will work in any country, because like a lot of countries, ATM cards will not work anywhere but that country. You got to really watch that out. Then you got to make sure that, to close the account. So if you had $100,000 in an account, you're really not going to be able to do that easily. So how can you wire it? There are more horror stories. I have watched people just go bazooka over wiring money. Okay, that is not simple, and it doesn't work like they show on these you know, action-packed thrillers where the two computers are sitting across and the numbers cross. It maybe will do, but I'm not a millionaire, right? But generally, wiring money means people sit around and worry and worry and worry and worry. It's not. It's a great way to lose money. Great way to pay a lot of fees. Great way to pay a bunch of bribes. I mean, because once the money's in transit, you know, all of a sudden the bank's got all these like strange rules and stuff. But generally, the best thing to do is I mean, everything changes if you're on a $500 a day budget, right? If you're on a $500 a day budget, please just call me up and we'll talk it over, okay? Because if you can afford a $500 a day budget, you can surely afford my $35 a day, $35 an hour thing, expertise. Because I know how to do this stuff, but it comes down to each unique country. And what people do by the time they're through doing this mental masturbation, they're so committed to that country that they can't leave the country, and they don't even know if they like the country. And this is where it turns into crazy stuff. After being in the country for 2 years, then you really like the country. But after, you know, if you're doing this stuff before you even move, it's just mental masturbation. It's analysis paralysis. It's crazy. Go there. Live there. You can live in almost any country for 2 years without any paperwork, really. There's always a way to, like, do border runs, get in and out, and all this stuff. Once you're positive you love the place, then start thinking about it. But by that time, you'll already have all your questions about bank accounts, Visa. All of them will already been answered because you've mulled it over with everybody that's already living there for 2 years. But really, at the end of the day, when you're talking to any advice on anybody, and especially about a specific country, make sure the person that's talking to you has been in country, living there for at least 7 years. There are so many people selling information and have only just moved there like 6 months ago or a year. They're on the YouTube. They're everywhere, acting like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And you sit there and you finally analyze them and go, the guy just moved there and he's decided that he's now the location independent expert. Okay. I was doing location independent, all this stuff that Ferris and the 4-Hour Work Week was doing. I was doing that, I think, 5 years before he wrote the book. Because me and Andrew have been partners for almost 10 years. I found him in Goa, I don't know. But I've been traveling for 16 years. I don't know, maybe. It's over 10 years, 10, 12 years. We've been together and we work at separate places. But if just think of this problem though on an ATM. You have a bank account in Costa Rica. You want to finally decide you want to live in, I want to live in Thailand. How do you get the money from there? You get an ATM card. The ATM expires. You have to go back to Costa Rica to get the account. Or how's this ATM card leaving Costa Rica and getting mailed to a mail forwarding service in America that doesn't really work with Thailand? It just doesn't work. It's just really Charlie Foxtrot. Okay. Okay, but at the end of the question is this, is that really most banks are sort of just do whatever they want to do and sort of, if you open an account, they just sort of like wait until somebody complains, right? And unless you got $1 million in an account, there probably nobody can complain, right? So they just open the account, and I don't think this idea that all the computers are hooked together worldwide just isn't true. I'm always hoping that they're actually hooked together within the country, okay? Because it doesn't always seem obvious. The only thing that seems to really work internationally is the ATM machine. So I have 2 ATM machines. I walk in, I know my balances. I can take out up to I figure it always at $300. If I can live on a $300 a day withdrawal, I'm happy. I wouldn't do that, but if you want to bypass the $300 thing, then you can open up like a Zoom account or a Western Union account and wire yourself money from America, like $2,000 to $3,000. This systems work. They're not. Western Union and Zoom work. Wiring bank to bank to bank to bank, even though it's cheaper, has I have seen so many people just furious over wiring things. But you can wire, you can Western Union or Zoom to, you can only Zoom to like your core countries. You can't Zoom to Africa and all this stuff. But Western Union's worldwide. And so you get a Western Union account in somebody else's name. It's again, wire money to yourself. And don't wire it to your girlfriend. Okay. But that's how you take out $3,000 a month. I know a doctor in it's in Cebu right now, and he has a Western Union. It's automatic. I think it's just you send it to a thing. But get on Zoom, XOOM.com. But don't go to Africa. Don't go to any of these Mickey Mouse countries that basically nobody goes to, because I go there and they shut me off. And then they act like you can't comply until you return to America. I'm in America. I screamed at this Filipino guy. I don't want to talk to some Filipino. Check out my credit. You don't even understand time. I had to talk to this Filipino guy. I said, you're in Manila. What do you get paid? $150 a month. You're a call center guy, and you're basically talking about my, he wants enough information from me that I don't really like to give it to a guy in the Philippines, right? So when you start doing this, be really careful, because you have redundancy plans. What's your second, third, fourth way of getting money? Okay, my first line is ATM. Second is ATM. Third is Western Union myself money. I can Zoom myself money. I have accounts. I can have Debbie at the bank put money in the account. I can have my sisters do it. I got just a long line of ways to do it. But if you're just one level, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And travel checks don't work, guys. Okay, they work, but they just are sort of they require you to go home to buy more, right? Okay, Andy Graham, thanks for this insight into this foreign tax FATCA. Okay, bye-bye.